Hello and welcome to today's video. I'm filming this intro at the end of all of the filming that I just did. It's literally taking me all of the daylight that was here in Sweden. And so this video is my collection and inventory video. It's not as in-depth as I wanted it to be because I just don't have the daylight, the number of hours that I need to have light in this room to be able to film and give like swatches and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a little shorter than I anticipated, but it still includes all the numbers, which I think is important for future videos that I want to talk about goals and that kind of thing. So here we're going to break down all of my categories of makeup and talk about how many products I have. You'll get to kind of see it. And yeah, this is a video that I have been putting off and really nervous to film because I know a lot of people can have their own opinions about what's too much, and I definitely know that this is too much, so please be kind in the comments. I know that this is too much. I kind of, now in hindsight, know that while I'm here in Sweden, I can recognize that I kind of went on a bit of a panic binge in like just how much change went on last year, and I definitely have too much. However, I want this to be something that I work on. This is a journey for me, and I think this is pretty common. I think that it's not uncommon that people kind of go haywire and then they learn, okay, this is an ideal collection for me. These are the numbers that I want to have. And so yeah, anyways, enough with the mumbling. Let's go in and look at my products. Okay, for primers, I have 20 primers, and I'm gonna start with these little sample guys up here. I have two Benefit Professional primers. One is opened and one is unopened. I have one Smashbox little photo finish primer that is open and I've tried out a couple times. I have two Makeup Forever Step 1 primers. I have never tried these. I recently got these when I was home for Christmas and I'm excited to try those. I have a YSL Touche Éclat primer and an Hourglass the Veil primer. Next up, I have three like glowy illuminating primers. One is a Touch and Glow. These are actually more like lotions. This one is almost done, and this is my backup that I picked up when I was home. I very much enjoy those products. And then I also have the Hocus Focus primer by Soap and Glory, and I think this is really pretty, but the smell of it is like, I don't know, I don't like the smell, but I do think all in all that it gives the skin like a really pretty glow. Then I have four what I would call pore reducing primers. This is the Soft Focus by NYX. I think this is a weird primer and it can get a little cakey if I'm not careful, but it's not a bad primer either. I picked it up for like $1 at Target. This is a L'Oreal Perfecting Base primer and I have Hit Pan in it. I really just, if you can't tell, I like trying face products. This is a Baby Skin Pore Erasing Primer. I just opened this one because I just finished another silicone-like primer. And this is very similar to the Smashbox primer. And this primer here is unopened. This is the Pore Minimizing Primer from Smashbox. I have two hydrating primers from NYX. One is the Q10 Renew Primer, and this is the Hydro Touch Primer. I really, really like this Hydro Touch Primer. Like, it's probably one of my favorite primers I've ever tried. And then I have four, what I would call, I guess they go in the matte category. This is an unopened, never been used before, oil-free mattifying gel by First Aid Beauty. I have a One Heck of a Blot by Soap and Glory, and I really think that this is pretty effective at making my face matte. This is an Ulta mattifying primer. It's almost gone. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it is, I'm ready to have it gone. Let's just say that. It's not that impressive. It doesn't really keep me matte like the One Heck of a Blot does. And then this Catrice Prime and Fine is unopened and unused or untried. So I'm excited to try that this year. I have 25 foundations, so we're going to start with drugstore options first. I have one mixer from LA Girl in Pro Coverage HD. And so far, I'm really enjoying this as a mixer. You can't tell because it got a little mixed up in moving them over here, but I've made a pretty good dent in this. I have two foundations from Wet n Wild. One is in my normal shade, and then one is for when I am self-tanned. But I'm not the biggest fan of this, or I wasn't when we were living in Atlanta, but my skin has changed so much, and the weather here has really affected how my skin looks and feels with foundation on. So like I'm gonna give this another shot and just see how it does in Sweden. Next up we have two foundations from Maybelline, and I have the Dewy and Smooth and the Matte and Poreless. In Atlanta I probably would have preferred the matte one. In Sweden I kind of prefer the dewy one. But all in all, I think that these foundations are really good quality, especially when if I had to choose between them and the Wet n Wild, I would choose these every time. I have a Maybelline Dream Matte Mousse, and this one's kind of getting a little old there. I have hit pan on it, but it does keep me matte, but at the same time, if I put it on my skin when it's too dry, you're going to see every dry patch and every wrinkle on my face, and so I'm not the biggest fan of using it, but I want to play around with it a little bit more before I get rid of it. Next up, I have a number 7 Beautifully Matte Foundation. I picked this up at Target on clearance for like $1, and I don't think the color is 100% right for me. It's a little bit green almost on me, but this one here, this Lumi True Match from L'Oreal, it's a little bit peachy, and so I want to try mixing these, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet, and just see how they work as a combo, and then from there I'll make a decision about whether or not in the future I maybe should declutter something like that. The Lumi one isn't my favorite, but then again, Sweden has really changed my face and how makeup sits on it, so I'm going to try this out in Sweden. I haven't tried it out yet. Next up I have a full coverage option from Milani, and I like this pretty decently. It's not my favorite. I don't think it makes me look younger, but at the same time, if I need a full coverage foundation, this is a solid choice. This, however, is my favorite foundation I think that I own. This CoverGirl Healthy Elixir is stunning on. I think it helps my skin look nice and fresh, and I really enjoy this foundation. These last two here are both new and unused. This Neutrogena Hydra Boost I've used before in a previous project pan, maybe over a year ago or so. I forget how long ago it was now, but no, I believe it was last summer. This is great foundation. I really enjoy it. I think it's easy to wear, and I'm excited to have it around again. I have not opened it up yet. Another one that I just purchased is the Revolution Conceal and Define Foundation. This is interesting to me. I've seen so many people like and rave about this foundation, but to me, I think it makes my skin look dry, and I'm surprised by that. So I need to keep playing around with it. I need to try it with some oil, maybe like a drop of oil mixed into it, and just see if that helps, but I do appreciate that it's more full coverage, so I'm keeping it around for now. I've only used it a couple times. I have two little sample guides. This is a sample of a CC cream from Supergoop that I need to try out. I also have a NARS Radiant, the Radiant Creamy Foundation or something like that I picked up at Sephora. I was looking for a more high-end option for a more full coverage foundation, and I picked this up when I was home from Sephora, and I'm not impressed by it so far, but I'm going to use the rest of the sample up just to get a feel for how it reacts, my skin reacts to it over here in Sweden. Next up, I have the Tarte Empowered Hybrid Gel Foundation, and I really like this foundation. This was like a hot buy or something, like where I got it like half off, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I really like it. It kind of reminds me of the Healthy Elixir in the way it looks on my skin, and so I think it's a nice foundation, and I'm definitely going to try using it up more this year. The next four were all TJ Maxx finds, and I'm such a sucker. I love trying face products, and when I found these on sale, they're like less than $5 usually, and I picked up the Stila Stay All Day Foundation, and I like the little applicator that it comes with. I think that's really fun. At the same time, I've only tried this once, and I remember thinking that the color was pretty orangey on me, but I'm going to try it again, maybe try mixing some other foundations with it, see how it works then. Next is the Stila Illuminating Liquid Foundation, and I didn't love it in Atlanta, but now that we're in Sweden and my skin again is reacting differently, I'm gonna try it out here and see how I like it. Next up, we have the Pure Cameo Contour, and this was literally like $4. I love a cream contour, so I've only used this like once or twice, but I'm excited to try it out some more this year, and this is the only stick foundation that I have right now in my collection. And next up is the Smashbox CC Cream. And this is newer to me. I have not tried this out yet, but it was a nice TJ Maxx find, and I'm excited to try out. I love CC cream because they typically are easy to wear. So yeah, I'm excited to try that out soon. And these last couple here are all, I picked them up all at Ulta. This is the Benefit the Professional Pore Minimizing Makeup, and it's very liquidy. It like comes out with a dropper. There's a shaker in it, or you shake it up and you drop it on this foundation and you put it over the top. Like, I think it can be used as a foundation or over the top of other foundations to help give some more coverage and conceal pores. I really like to use this product over cream contour situations. So like my Anastasia, I have a contour kit by Anastasia, a cream one, and this is really fun to wear over the top of that. Next up I have two IT Cosmetics CC creams and a Bye Bye Lines foundation. This CC cream I really enjoy, especially when the sun's out because it has 50 SPF. I kind of actually don't wear it too much, especially in Sweden during the winter because we don't get sun very often. But I was excited to buy this because I liked that one so much. And this, I'm actually a little bit sad that I don't love as much. I really wanted to like it a lot more than I do. I think it's okay, but it's not something that makes me excited or does my skin a ton of favors. I had one foundation hiding in the high-end side that actually was in the drugstore side, and this is the L'Oreal BB Cream. This is in a Current Project pan. But this is an easy-to-use foundation. I think it looked better on my skin in Atlanta than it does here, but all in all, it's not a bad product. This is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation. I've only used this a handful of times, but it's very thick and I have to mix in an oil with it, and so I think I'm going to wait until the summer to try to get some more use out of this because it is so thick. But it's not a bad foundation, it's just not as appealing to me as like the Hybrid Gel Foundation. And last but not least is this Origins foundation. It's actually a tinted moisturizer, and it's super easy to wear. It has 40 SPF in it. I enjoy just when I'm really rushing to get out the door, I put this on, put a little powder foundation over the top, concealer, you're good to go. This category is definitely way too big, and I would love to see this number go down in this next year and the next couple of years because this is just too many. I know that now. I really like face products, but I don't need to overwhelm myself like this. And for concealers, we have lucky number 13. These here on this side are more color correctors for me. I know that this is technically a concealer, but I use it to color correct because it's a little too hydrating to be a concealer on me and it will crease. But underneath certain drying formulas like Shape Tape, this is really good. And so I also have these three color correctors. This is an Algenist one that I got at TJ Maxx, super cheap. LA Girl Pro Conceal, this is brand new to me. I haven't really tried it out yet. And then this is a NYX Dark Circle Concealer, and I have a pretty good dip in it going. I don't know if you can see it. Sorry about the lighting. The sun is going down so quickly here. So a couple of the concealers that are unopened are a backup of my Shape Tape and a supersized version of the Conceal and Define, as well as an Ulta concealer. And then I have two, like in these tubes here. This is a Master Conceal, the CoverGirl Outlast All Day. Neither one of them are my favorite. Tarte Shape Tape really is very, very full coverage, and I do enjoy it. And then I have a Wet n Wild concealer that I enjoy using along with the Tarte Shape Tape sometimes. So that's a nice concealer. And then the ColourPop concealer is pretty dang nice. I really enjoy it too. Okay, I have 14 powders. I obviously have the Coty Airspun that's in a Current Project pan. It's almost done. And I have a backup here. I have a Maybelline Fit Me loose powder, and I really like this. I have the Laura Mercier loose setting powder that I have not tried yet, but I'm excited to try this. I also have the Mineral Veils. This is the Hydrating Mineral Veil. I haven't opened or tried this yet. I have a Kat Von D. This is the Brightening Power in the color Petal, and I haven't opened or tried this yet either. This technically isn't a powder, but it is used for mattifying purposes, and so this is like a silicone-y type thing from Mally Beauty, and I really enjoy this product. It's something that I like to put on after I've done my makeup for days that I need my skin to look really smooth and stay matte. This is a great product. I have a NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat powder, a CoverGirl powder that I've had to repress because it crumbles and breaks so easily. a Milani Prep Set and Glow powder, a Laura Geller powder that's also kind of gives the skin a nice healthy glow, It by Pores pressed powder, the Color Icon. This is new to me, I haven't really tried it yet, but I'm hoping that, I heard that it's kind of similar to the Hourglass Ambient Lighting powders, and so I want to try that out. And then I have one e.l.f. powder that lives in my purse for days when I need to blot or take my shine down a little bit. Okay, for bronzer, I have 13 bronzing products here. I have the Shade and Light palette, the Makeup Revolution Ultra Contour palette. This here is a Butter London trio, an Anastasia Cream Contour Kit, an e.l.f. palette. Quick note here, I know the e.l.f. palette and like the Makeup Revolution palette have highlighters in them, but since I use these palettes more for the contour, I'm going to only put them in the bronzing contour category. I have two liquid or cream concealers. One is a LA Colors one, and then one is NYX. I have my butter bronzer and then a backup in the deeper shade. I just want to try it out. I have a baked bronzer, and I was hoping that this would be more like the Sweet Tea bronzer by Too Faced, but it's very shimmery. I don't know if I'll hold on to this forever, but I'm going to try it out in the summer and just see if I can make it work. Or I have the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer, which I have not used yet. I've only swatched. I have a Hoola bronzer by Benefit, and I've only, again, swatched it. This is also new to me. This is the Lorac Tantalizer bronzer. And I have 11 blush products. I have 4 palettes, and this is the Laura Geller Hollywood Blushing Trio, a Stila. This is technically an eyeshadow palette, but I really just use the blushes more than anything, so I didn't count this in my eyeshadow collection. And then I have the BH Cosmetics palette in Glamorous Blush, and then a Tarte palette, the Blush Bazaar. It's beautiful. And again, I know this has 2 highlighters in it, but I don't use them a ton, so I count this only as a cheek palette. Then I have a single, again, this has some eyeshadows in it, but I don't really love them, so I only count this. I do really enjoy the blush, or this, and this Box Blush by Benefit. A NYX Baked Blush, 2 Wet n Wild Color Icon blushes in Pearlescent Pink and Apricot in the middle. This one is so pretty, and I love this shade. Okay, so I have 22 highlighters. I'm going to go through these here first. This is Bliss from Ofra, and this is an Anastasia highlight in Champagne. This is a holographic palette from Ulta, and I like to use these as highlighters. This is an Ofra palette that's new to me, and I've not tried that out yet, but I'm excited to. I have an Anastasia Glow Kit in Aurora, and I love this palette, so fun to wear. And then this is the Glow Kit in Sugar. And obviously you probably can see it, this is my favorite shade in this palette. I have a couple other ones here. I have a Wet n Wild in Precious Petals. The Amrezy highlighter is brand new to me, and I've worn it one time and I love it so far. I'm excited to get some use of that in 2019. I have a Stila putty highlighter, and this is the shade Kitten. This is the Wet n Wild highlighter in Boozy Brunch. This is the Essence Pure Nude. This is a little powder sample highlighter that came in a Butter London palette that I have. I have 3 Super Shock cheeks in Lunch Money, Flexitarian, and Wisp. I have 4 liquid highlighters, an e.l.f. one, a NYX one, the Becca Moonstone, and this is a Champagne one from Makeup Revolution. And then lastly, I have 3 little like deluxe size samples of Laura Geller Diamond Dust. This is probably my favorite highlighter that I own. Champagne Pop, that's new to me, as well as Becca's Opal, which I had to repress because these Becca formulas are really soft and will break really easily. Alright, next up I have 17 brow products, and a lot of these are unopened. So first up, this was my first ever brow product from e.l.f. and it was in the shade Light, which now I realize I need a much darker shade, but I keep this around in case I need to do my husband's makeup or anything for like Halloween, or occasionally he'll let me talk him into wearing some brows if we're taking photos, because he has very light brows, but they're very thick. And then we have a Divina brow that's also here for the same reason. I believe this was like $1 at TJ Maxx, and it's in the dark blonde shade. I have 2 pencils from, this was an eyeliner pencil that someone gave me from, I believe, an Amazon order. And because I don't really wear brown eyeliner, I threw it in my brow category. And this is an e.l.f. one. I have 2 Essence Make Me brows. A NYX powder that I got at Target for like $1. And it's pretty good. I really enjoy that. Then I have a Maybelline Brow Precise mascara. And then these 2 are also unopened. This is the It Brow Power. All of these here are also unopened. They were given to me at Christmas time. I have a backup of my Ka-Brow, Gimme Brow, 2 of the Goof Proof and the Slim, the Precisely My Brow pencils, the Brow Powder by Benefit, and then these 2 I had from a previous order. And this thing lasts me forever. I have been working on this for over a year, and I think I'm maybe halfway done with it. So it's a great value. And then I also have the Ready Set Brow, which is just a clear brow gel. Okay, my eyeshadow palettes live in this container here. And all in all, I have 32 eyeshadow palettes, and we're going to go through each of them now. First up, I have this Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette, and mine's a little beat up, and for some reason the board's pulling away from the rest of the packaging. But this was like one of my first big eyeshadow palettes that I bought, and I enjoy it, but sometimes I get overwhelmed by just how many of the same warm tones there are, and I don't find myself pulling for it a lot, but I hope to make an effort to get some use out of it this year. The next palette is another Morphe palette. And this is a new one to me. This is the 35M Boss Mood palette, and it's really pretty. I really was interested in these green tones up here, which is why I bought this palette. I have not worn this palette yet because it's so spanking new to me, but so far I like to look at it, so I'm excited to try to get some use out of that this year. Next up, I have this 3502 palette. Now this palette drew me in right after I bought the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette because of these reds and oranges here. They're so vibrant, and I really do enjoy wearing these. Now some of the other tones can again overwhelm me because they're just so alike, but all in all, when I want a red eyeshadow look, I know I can pull for this palette and never be disappointed. The next one up is the Take Me Back to Brazil palette by BH Cosmetics. And I bought this because I wanted a colorful palette. I bought this before I bought some of my other colorful palettes that you'll see. And all in all, I'm underwhelmed by it. It's not an amazing palette, but it's not something that I care to get rid of. I can still use it from time to time when I need a color that I don't have in another palette, but it doesn't encourage me or make me super excited. This one and the next one do make me excited. I enjoy Lorac shadows. I think when I want a more subtle look that is very blended and easy to work with, I go for a Lorac palette. This one is new to me. This was given to me at Christmas time, and so far I'm enjoying it. I've been playing with it this past week, and I'm going to play with it one more week before I rotate another eyeshadow palette in. But I really like some of these, this Goji shade is gorgeous, and then some of these Peony and Prosecco are very pretty. I'm really enjoying this so far. This was my first ever Lorac purchase, and I was not disappointed. I'm in love with this green shade. I like that it's a little bit more cool tone. Some of these shimmers down here are really pretty, and so this is what sparked my interest in Lorac shadows in general. My next palette is the Pure Grinch palette, and this was a gift from my mother-in-law at Christmas time. So it's still new to me, but I used it a ton when I was home visiting my family in December, and I really actually surprisingly enjoyed this palette. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of these holiday releases, especially from Pure. They don't get a lot of love, I feel like. But I think that each shade in here I used, and I can see why they put it in the palette. I haven't used the glitters yet, but I really want to. and the blush and the highlighter were pretty decent. I haven't used this yet, but I know I'll like that. I tend to really like those color changing lip balm products. And yes, the packaging is a bit bulky and that's pretty annoying, but all in all, like if you just take into consideration the product inside, I think that it's pretty good. The next palette we have here is the Weekend Festival palette by BH Cosmetics. And to me, this is one of my most exciting purchases of 2018. I just love this color scheme. It's so beautiful and bright and vibrant. And I bought this at the same time I bought the Weekend Festival, or the Take Me Back to Brazil palette. And had I known that I was gonna like this one so much more, I probably wouldn't have bought both at the same time, but I did. And so this is one that I'm inspired by and I really enjoy using. And I hope to get more use out of it this year. I made the mistake in 2018 of overindulging in eyeshadow and I just have too much, and so this didn't get as much use as it should have gotten for how beautiful it is, but it will in 2019. Next up is my Pirates of the Caribbean Lorac palette. This was one that I picked up from TJ Maxx and I am pleasantly surprised by this. First of all, I do love the movies, and so I can get over the bulky packaging, but I actually think that this is a beautiful, easy to use palette when I want a more smoky look, like these two right here, Arg and Black Pearl. They are so pretty to me, and then I also still enjoy some of these like pops of color here. So all in all, I'm very satisfied with this palette, and I'm definitely going to be using this in 2019. Next up is another Lorac palette, and this one's also new to me, and I'm using it currently in my Shop My Stash. And this is the Shine Bright palette, and I like it so far. I haven't used it a ton to develop enough of an opinion on it. I did have a little bit of trouble with like this purple here, but maybe that was my fault in the way I used it. I want to keep trying it, but I all in all, I'm still liking it, and I haven't changed my mind about Lorac shadows. Next up is the Saharan by Juvia's Place, and this is relatively new to me. I've only worn it one time because I picked it up when I was home for Christmas, and I really enjoyed the look that I came up with and am impressed in my first impression use of this palette, but I'm excited to rotate this into my Shop My Stash eventually and get a lot more use out of it. Next up we have the Too Faced Natural Matte palette, and this was a TJ Maxx find, and I am impressed by the colors in here. I actually really like them. When I like to pull this palette out, I like to make sure I use some single shadows with it. And so I'm excited that I have the palette, but it probably was one of those purchases that I didn't need. And next up is this Too Faced Natural Eyes palette. This is a palette that I definitely didn't need. It was like a last minute purchase at TJ Maxx, like right there at the edge of the counters. Someone had laid this down and I picked it up. I definitely don't need it because a lot of the shades are repeated in the Natural Matte palette, but I do find that this is an easy travel palette and I have enjoyed using it. I've gotten some decent use out of it, but I hope to make some use out of it for travel this year in 2019. Moving on to palettes that live here in the back. This is the new Dose of Colors Friendcation palette by Desi and Katie. This is brand new to me. I have not touched it yet, but I got it on sale and used my Ulta points, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited to touch it. It's gorgeous, and I think I'm kind of doing the delayed gratification thing where I'm like, just wait, use some of your other ones and then use this and be really excited. So I'm really excited to have that. This is the Violet Voss Rainbow palette, and it's an all shimmer palette, and you definitely need to use a matte palette along with it, but I think that all in all it is stunning. These shades are gorgeous. I very much enjoy this palette. Next up we have another Lorac palette, and this was like a 21 Days of Beauty buy for me, and this is one of those easy everyday palettes, and I bought it kind of because it was on sale, and then once I started wearing it I realized how much I enjoyed it, and so I'm very happy to have this around. I love these shades. I think they're gorgeous. Next up we have the Sultry palette by Anastasia, and this is brand new to me. I have not touched it yet. I think again I'm waiting to kind of wear some of the other ones that I just purchased, and then I'll let myself really indulge when I'm missing buying makeup this year because I'm trying not to buy so much. So when I get a little bit when I feel myself itching to buy something new, I'll pull something like this out. Then we have the Norvina palette. This was my birthday gift to myself, and I think it is stunning. I have not gotten enough use out of it, but in 2019 I hope to. Next up is Subculture, and I picked this up at TJ Maxx, and I know a lot of people on the internet were not crazy about this palette, but I think it is gorgeous in the fall, and it's so inspiring, and I pretty much love every look that I came up with this fall. It's so pretty. Then last up for ABH, we have the Modern Renaissance palette, and this is just a great versatile palette. I don't think had I purchased those first, I probably wouldn't have gotten this, but this is my first ABH palette, and so I can appreciate that there's so much variety in this palette, but when I compare it to the other three that I own, I definitely prefer those over this one. Next up we have the Athena Bad Habit palette, and this is a dupe for the Desert Dust palette. I was so drawn to the Desert Dust colors, but could not bring myself to pay $65 for the palette, and so I picked this up. But honestly, I'm not loving it yet, but I need to give it a chance. The last time I tried to use this, I had pulled it alongside the 35O palette, and I think that the two palettes were just too similar, and I wasn't enjoying the color selection in here because I was already using so many orange shades in the other palette. So I need to give this a try when I'm not making it compete with other palettes and just see if my opinion changes. I do have to use a glitter glue for these shimmers, and that kind of annoys me, like I'm a little bit lazy sometimes, but nonetheless, I need to give it a shot, a fair shot, and see how I feel about it. Next up, we have the Makeup Revolution Reloaded Neutrals 2 palette, and this was like a $7 palette at Ulta, and I was so drawn to these red colors, and sadly I haven't used it that much, but I need to make an effort to use it a little bit more because I really do like these kind of red warm colors. I think they're very pretty, so maybe this will be in a Shop My Stash within the next couple of months so that I can kind of get a better feel for this palette. Next up we have another Makeup Revolution palette, and this is a Shade and Light dupe, and this shade right here is in a current project pan, but the rest of it hasn't gotten much love for me, although I do think that it is a good palette and I can use a lot of these shades for multiple different reasons. Like this would be a good brow shade for me, and liner shades and that kind of thing. I need to make an effort to use it more. Next up we have the NYX Happy Birthday palette, and this was an Ulta gift for a birthday, I believe 2 years ago, and this is a pretty decent palette to be free. So I'm going to keep it around, and I'm enjoying it when I did use it, but I haven't used it in a while. Next up is this Pure My Little Pony palette. This was something that I picked up at Kohl's for like $9, I believe, when it was on clearance. And I had never tried a Pure palette at that time, and so I was really more curious than anything. I think the mattes in this palette are stunning. The shimmers are pretty hard pressed, and I find them a little bit more difficult to work with. But all in all, I think the colors are very pretty. Like you see that's not a ton of color payoff. Like you really have to dig to get some color. But all in all, I do think the palette is really pretty and worth keeping around for the matte colors in here. Next up is another My Little Pony palette. I don't know why I have so many My Little Pony palettes. I actually don't watch the show, but this is from ColourPop, and this was an impulse buy. They had a free shipping offer, and this was put on clearance. And I had never tried a ColourPop pressed shadow, and so I picked it up because I thought some of these shades were really pretty, and yeah, I don't regret it. I think it's really nice, and I actually understand the hype of ColourPop palettes, and so I'm keeping this around and hoping to incorporate it some throughout the year and Shop My Stashes. Next up, we have the NYX Ultimate Brights palette, and I had purchased this before I bought the Colorful BH Cosmetics palette, but I wasn't like enthused by some of these shades. Some of these like blend away to nothing, and some of them are pretty decent, so I am not in love with this, but there are a couple shades in here that I really like this blue shade's really nice. And so yeah, I do want to give this more of a shot this year and see if it's something that I want to keep in my collection for long term, but so far it's okay to hold on to. Next up is this little small eyeshadow palette from NYX called In Bloom, and it's got some really nice staple everyday work friendly colors. Another decent work travel palette. This was one of my first palettes that I started buying when I started buying makeup at Ulta, and when I first started getting into makeup, and I think that it's really easy, and I enjoyed it a lot. Now I think my only problem is that I have a lot of colors that I can dupe in my collection that have better formulas than this. Next up is this little mini Gigi Hadid palette, and this was like a TJ Maxx find for like $5 or so, and I plan to use this all the way up. I think these shades are pretty decent. The quality isn't bad, but all in all, it's just kind of a small travel-friendly palette. It's not something that inspires me too much, but it's not worth getting rid of either. Then we have this little guy here. It's a Lancome palette in the shade Taupe Craze, and it's got some nice little, they're very soft shadows, but I really actually like them. They're pretty cool tone too, so I hope to get some use out of that this year. Next up we have the Marvelous Mauve palette by Dose of Colors, and this is gorgeous. This was a 21 Days of Beauty find for me, and I was really hesitant because it was still like $16 for like 5 shades, but I do think that these shades are very good quality and these colors are pretty unique, and when I want a mauve tone look, I always pull for this palette first. Lastly, I have this Natasha Denona little mini Lila palette. And this is new to me. I've only worn it one time, but I'm very excited to try to use this some in the new year. This is my single shadow collection, and it includes not these bigger ones here, but these are NYX shadows from an advent calendar. These are old Maybelline shadows that I depotted, an Anastasia shadow, a glass bowl from ColourPop, ColourPop Super Shock. I have 15 of them. I have a couple neutrals, and then a lot of them are more pops of color. I tend to include or enjoy the glitter ones more than like the matte formula. I have 2 matte formula and the rest are like all glitter metallic. And then I have a couple Wet n Wild shadows, the glitter and this Brulee color, a cream shadow from Revlon, Amber Rush, which is super popular here on YouTube, the NYX shadow, an Urban Decay and Midnight Cowboy. I have 4 liquid eyeshadows. These were from the Midnight Mermaid collection Wet n Wild put out. I very much enjoy those. They're very pretty. I have a glitter from NYX that I include in this section because I wear it like an eyeshadow and less like a liner. And then I have 3 minis from Stila, as well as a couple full-sized shadows from Stila. I love these things. I think they are stunning. I've been very lucky to get them all on sale, except for one I bought for full price, I think, but all the other ones were half off or more than half off. And then I have one that is a highlighter technically, but I'm going to try to wear it over the top of eyeshadow. All in all, that makes 54 single shadows. Okay, I currently have 18 mascaras in my collection. These are all the open mascaras that I have right now. This is the Benefit Roller Lash, and I do believe that this is so good and worth the hype that it gets on YouTube. It makes my lashes actually hold a curl, which is not an easy task. Then I have the L'Oreal Lash Paradise in the waterproof kind. I didn't mean to buy the waterproof version, but I do think I should have at least one waterproof one around, but it is hard to get off, and that's why I'm not in love with it per se. I have a voluminous original L'Oreal mascara, and I didn't want to have this one, but I went on a trip and forgot to pack mascara one time, and so that's why I have it and it's open. I also have a Wet n Wild. This is like a lash primer, and it's pretty decent. It's not my favorite, but it's not bad for the price. And again, this was one of those buys that I shouldn't have had to make, but I did. This is a W7 Absolute Lashes, and I have a really weird bad habit of like having a full face of makeup done and walking out of the house without any mascara on, and I did that one day, and so I had to buy some lashes because I kept looking at myself in like windows and stuff and like being freaked out, so that's why we have that one. Now the rest of these are unopened, and I have one CoverGirl Volume Boost Lash Blast Mascara. This is a great mascara. I've used multiple of those up before. I have a Lash Paradise that is not waterproof, and so I'm excited to try the non-waterproof version in the future. I have an Essence Volume Stylist one. I've used up one of these in the past. I'm not crazy about it, but it's not bad. I'll use it up. I have 2 lash booster kind of things from Lancome, one sample size, one full size. I have the Wet n Wild. This is like the Mega Slim, the skinny mascara. I'm going to try that out. I keep hearing good things about it on YouTube. And then I have several little samples here. I have a MAC sample. I have a Better Than Sex sample, a Stila sample, 2 Clinique samples, the It Cosmetics Superhero, which was the Ulta birthday gift this year, and then the Lights Camera Lashes from Tarte. These are my eyeliners, and there are 24 of them. These are all my black liners. My favorite one is probably this Rimmel one, and then I haven't tried these 2 here. One was Marc Jacobs and then a Lorac one. And then another black one by NYX, the Jumbo Pencil. These are more liquid liner, except for one pot type from Essence. These are all liquid liners. Several of these, 3 of them? No, several of these. 3 of these are unopened, including a Kat Von D and a Lottie London Lean Woman. And these have been opened, and I'm almost done with one of them, so that's my liquid liners here. These here are cream and white colored eyeliners that kind of are lower waterline liners. I'm not in love with any of the cream ones, but the white ones are the Milk Jumbo Pencil is probably the best one that I have. I have 4 colored liners. Most of them are by NYX, except for this one is a Maybelline one. And then I have 2 that I consider eyeliners, but they probably could also be kind of eyeshadow sticks too. But one is a CoverGirl and one is a NYX. Okay, I did not realize how large this category was until I laid it out. I have 35 pairs of lashes, so I'll start with these over here. This is these are a bunch of Lily lashes. This is Miami. 3 in the style Havana. 2 in the style London. 1 in the style Mykonos. And then I have 1 open pair of Havanas. And then these are also ones that I'm just currently working on using. These are a couple Ardell lashes. I have a Pure in the Bombshell style. Huda in Scarlet, number 8. Kiss lashes in the style Pixie. I have Ardell, another pair of Ardells. These here are very weird. This is a magnetic one that I want to try to cut up and use more as an everyday easy lash. And then I have some more here that are magnetic that I need to try to fit together and see if I can even make them work. This is another pair of lashes that literally probably need to be thrown away, but I might try to get one more use out of them. And then I have these 2 lash books here. One is a regular one, and then one is the faux mink one, both of them from Ardell. For setting sprays, I have 7. I have the current one I'm using from Ofra, and then a backup of it. I have this Evian one that I have not opened yet, a little all-nighter that, again, I just got and haven't opened. And then I have these 3 that obviously they aren't setting sprays, but I like to make my own setting sprays sometimes. And this is what I use along with water. Obviously, just a little glycerin, a little rose water for this to make it smell nice, and then a little bit of vitamin E. And so this is what I like to put in my own setting spray. So I'm going to count these as 1 each in this category, totaling up to 7. I have 23 lip liners. And these here were from a gift set someone gave me a couple years ago. This was like an Amazon find, and they're really not bad pencils. The brand says Italia Deluxe. They're really not bad, but I don't get a ton of use out of these because I have other ones that I like better. Now, these Wet n Wild ones are pretty dang good quality. I really like them. They're very soft, so if you don't like a super soft pencil, these wouldn't be for you. NYX ones are overhyped in my opinion. I don't love these. These are, I keep the red one around because I need a red one, but it's not my favorite formula. However, these Buxom ones are my favorite. These are stunning. I love them, and I have 1 repeat color, Hush Hush, in the shade Hush Hush, and I need to try to get this one out of my collection. And eventually, you know, in the future, I'd like to only have like this small little set. Okay, for the sake of my own like mental health here, I am not going to pull all of these out. This is what I store my liquid lipsticks, bullet lipsticks, and then glosses are here in the back, and I'll try to angle it and show you. But really quickly, let me read off my paper here. I have 62 bullet lipsticks, 61 liquid lipsticks, 38 glosses, and then these here are lip pigments that you can layer over the top of some of the liquid lipsticks to change the color and give some dimension to them. There are 8 of these. So that 61 liquid lips does not include these random products here. But here's a little look at my collection of liquid lipsticks, or these are liquid lipsticks here. And then back here are glosses. And then this are bullet lipsticks, and that's just perfume back there. Quick disclosure here. This is entirely too much. When I first started getting into makeup, I started buying a ton of lip products thinking that that was what I was going to be really into. And then as I started to learn more about makeup and my preferences, I realized that lips are fun, but they're not for me like an everyday thing of expression. So that's why there are so many of them, because obviously it took me too long to realize that. However, I want to pare this down, so that's going to be one of the things I talk about in an upcoming video of getting a better handle on this, because this is by far the part of my collection that overwhelms me the most. As I was cleaning up, I realized I forgot to include this little miscellaneous category, and I have 8 products to include here. This is random things like these are kind of glitter primers, these are eye primers, these are lash adhesives, and so they're going to go into this category, but they're going to just be a miscellaneous category, and that's what we got going